Here we go.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey folks, welcome to the Intrepid radio program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts. Happy Tuesday. It's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Holiday weekends always do that to me. Sorry about last night. They say never apologize, but I like to apologize sometimes because last night we got stuck. We were still cleaning up the old place, and you know what? We got stuck there pretty late. And by the time I thought, I need to put up an announcement that I'm not going to make it, it was already too late. So time flies when you're cleaning a house. So that's why I wasn't here last night. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming in tonight. And you're watching this show or hearing this show on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. Check out the time schedule, see all the different hosts and the different shows that are going on over there, and find the times throughout the day where you can hear rebroadcasts of this show over at Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. And of course, if you're here already, you know you're on the YouTube stream. This is generally a simulcast of the audio show that plays over at Odyssey, but it's the only show playing tonight. But pretty soon, now that we're in new digs and we're starting to get things put together, I think we're going to find some new and fantastic ways to broadcast this show, both on Odyssey and here on my YouTube channel. Those of you not here on YouTube or see this later, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. It looks like my sound is a little high. You guys let me know if it's coming in a little hot for you. Hot! That's how I come in. Hot! So I just dropped it down a bit because I saw myself going up into the red here over on my audio board. So thank you for being here. I got to tell you what, it has been an absolutely, it's not horrendous. It's just things I don't like to do. What's really high on your list of things you don't want to do? On my list, it's moving. I hate moving. I absolutely hate it. I am not a minimalist. Ask John and Bree. They are both here. John is Packy over there in the chat room. I don't like to move. They helped. John helped all day, every day for a week. And Brianna, after she came home from work, came over and she helped too. They did a lot of lifting, a lot of toting. I owe a heck of a lot of gratitude to my friends from across the street. And you know what? Now that we're out of the neighborhood and we're in the new digs, they came over tonight. Almost brought a tear to me eye, me jaded eye. It's me jaded eye. And so it was good to see them tonight. And I want to just say hey to people. I saw Audrey saying Scotty in all caps. Welcome, Audrey. It's good to see you. I know we don't get a chance to see you over on this show as often as we'd like because of your work schedule, but it's sure nice to have you here. Thank you, Audrey. That is the nice Falcon. Did you fly the Millennium Falcon at Disneyland? That's fantastic. You know what? In about 12 days, is it 12 days? Our whole family's heading down to Disney World on my twin daughters. And John, that would be, my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn. Well, that's an inside joke with John and I. But they are, those of you who don't know, they have bought a trip for our whole family. Them and their significant others and husbands and all of us in this family, Rainey and me and the kids. We imported a couple of flies with us from the other place. Other than that, we are not infested. But and of course, they all still go for my head and my face. But we're going down to Disney World on the 18th of the month, which is today's the 7th. So what's the 18th? That's 9 days away. And so we're heading down for a week. They flew up here and surprised the kids with jackets and backpacks and tickets and all of that. And they've paid for our airfare already. They're putting us up at the Wilderness Hotel, I think it is, on site at, I say that every time I say it, I think it is. It's the Wilderness something. You'd think I'd have gone and looked it up, and I haven't. But so we're going to be down there for a week. And Audrey, I'm going to fly the Millennium Falcon. So my son Sam, too, or Flynn, is going to fly with me. So we're already looking forward to that. And it's a big surprise. My daughters have lined up special things for us all. For Flynn and me, we get to go build lightsabers. So that'll be fun. So we'll be coming home with cool lightsabers. And they got other things planned for my daughters. And so I was asking my daughters the other day, how much money do we need to bring, for food and all this? And they said, it's all expense paid. All you do is bring money for your souvenirs. So there you go. So it's going to be a fun trip. And I will not be broadcasting from there. If I do, during that week, we'll either be down all week or I will make some surprise posts or try to find some time to do a show or two in there. So plan on the 18th through the 24th or 25th, I will be gone. And there will not be a show officially here on the Intrepid Radio Network, radio broadcast on the Odyssey Radio Network. So, Audrey, it's good to see you. Yeah, that lightsaber will be hanging on my wall, and it'll be lit up. And don't you mean Bryn and Abby? Did I say Abby and Bryn? Abby's the oldest one by 40 minutes. So there you go. Hey, Elderberry, good to see you. And Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you as well. And who else we got in here tonight? We got, here, let me get my comments up over here so I can scroll through people. I know we've got Matthew and we've got Barbie D is here. Welcome, Barbie D. Good to see you. Dave Potter, Uncle Dave is here. Good to see you. The new digs, he asked. The new digs are fantastic. We really like them. John and Bree were just over here again tonight, and they've seen it intimately several times while moving boxes in. So you could ask them what they think of this place compared to our old place. And so we're loving it. Dave, you got to get over here. And who else we got tonight? I'm just scrolling through lots of repeats here in the chat room. I'm looking for anybody I hadn't said hello to yet that I can see. If you're not in the chat room, folks, come on over and join the chat room and be part of the community and talk to each other during the show. It's kind of fun. It's nice to have you around. Nice to see your comments, even though I don't always see them because I'm talking. So, but hopefully I'll see most of your stuff. If you really want to get my attention, put something in all caps, and then it'll hit my peripheral vision as I'm talking. And so, Field Guy, good to see you. Operation Old House Takeover. I'm not sure what you mean by that exactly. You mean my old house? That old house we left behind. So there's a fly. Oh, I almost got him. If they land and you clap above them, they'll fly right into your slap usually. But I didn't want to hit the mic, which I did anyway. So, Steve Clark, how you doing? You were able to cut your brother's fuel usage in half with just doing a tune-up on his truck. Outstanding. That's a good day. Welcome, Steve. And Susie Q, good to see you making apple cider. It's that time of year. Halloween's coming. Fall's here. So, who else we got? Anybody else? Scott Allen, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. And if I don't see you and you sneak in, Corey Blake. I see Corey Blake. I saw him out of the corner of my eye. How you doing, Corey? Good to see you, brother. Glad to have you here. And so let us carry on, shall we? And we had a few days off here. It feels like it anyway. Friday, we were so dog tired. I didn't do a show because of this move. And then Saturday was off. And then Sunday, we did a Sunday morning show very quickly. And for an hour, and we were out. And then yesterday, I didn't do a show. And so I don't want to make that a habit. Don't feel like it's going to be a habit or anything like that. This stuff just happens sometimes. Life gets in the way. So we will be here all this week unless some weird mysterious thing takes over and changes everything. So what did I want to say? Oh yeah, it feels like I'm getting my feet wet again. And I want to thank John, by the way, Learman, for the ability to be broadcasting tonight. We still don't have internet hooked up here, and he loaned me a tablet where we can connect to their mobile internet, which is better than our mobile internet. I'd do one show on that and we'd be done. You remember that from the Louisiana makeshift studio days. And so we are broadcasting via the Learman tablet tonight, via hooked up to my computer. So I appreciate it, John and Bree. That means a lot to me. And so they came over and made sure I knew how to operate that baby. And yeah, we're getting some right now. The lightning and the storms. Yeah. If I had this window right here, not covered by my big drawing table, you'd be able to see. See, if I showed you right now, there's the big drawing table sitting over there, covering the window. And so let me get that back where it's supposed to be. Boom. And yeah, so the news said that we aren't supposed to get the thunderstorm, but sure, lightning and thundering all around us, but we're not getting hit by rain yet, so far as I know. Anyway, Lucky Stone, welcome to the show. And as I was saying, if you're not in the chat room, come on and join the chat room. There's more people watching this than are showing up in the chat room. So if you'd like to come in, come on in. I invite you. Nobody's going to bite you, at least hard. Maybe Brianna, maybe Steph. But Steph's not here, so she can't defend herself. Maybe Barbie D. So let's move on. Yeah, Operation Makeshift Studio Takeover. Said Field Guy. Yeah, we're not makeshift studio tonight. How about that? That's kind of nice. So hopefully we'll have our own satellite internet put up here pretty soon. I think that's what we're going to have to do out here. And so they said it should work. It's really advanced in technology that unless you're in the middle of a monsoon torrential downpour, it generally works through just about anything. So that's good. You just nibble a little, says Steve Clark. That's right. And Field Guy, glad the power's back down there in Nolans for y'all. Oh, why don't you come on down to Nolans? What's the favorite drink down there? I know you eat lots of crawdads, and you suck some tail. And what do you drink down there? What's the Nolans drink? I don't know. So don't be shy. We're a kind bunch, says Dave Potter over in the chat room, and that's true. We are a kind bunch. Drink a hurricane, says Field Guy. Mint juleps. I was going to say mint julep. That sounds like the old South to me. Why don't you come on Why don't yourself up here onto this veranda, and we'll sit back and have a mint julep. Was mint julep meant to be a female drink? I don't know, rightly. I'd say sit back up here and we'll throw back a bourbon. So, anyway, let's move on. I wanted to remember our topic that we've been on for a couple of weeks. We've been talking about Jesus, Potter, Harry, Christ. What's that all about? It's all about finding the mysterious linkages. I shouldn't say mysterious. The fascinating linkages between the characters of Harry Potter and Jesus Christ as literary characters. And so what we've gotten into, it's not really sidetracked, it's part of the topic. We've been examining the case for Jesus, the case against Jesus, the historical Jesus. And so I hope there's nobody that's too sensitive to this topic, that it turns you away from listening and thinking and contributing to this topic. Jesus made a Hurricane Harry Potter. Jesus made a Hurricane Harry Potter, only killed Voldemort. There it is. There you go. There's some comparisons. And if I read it right, so suck, not sick, says Dave Potter. Yeah, I thought I said suck and tail. So not sick and tail. Got it. Pinch the tail, suck the head. There it is. That's the way you eat that stuff down there. And so you had me at Jack Daniels, said John. Well, John, you saw the whole collection you're bringing in. Dave, there's still a whole collection of single malt Highland scotches here, as well as some Kentucky bourbon. That's all over here as well. So one of these nights, we're all going to have to sit down. John and Dave and Bree and Rainey. Rainey won't drink that much anymore, but doesn't treat her very well these days. She has to be careful because she's gluten-free, and all the other stuff going on. So we'll do that one of these nights. Anybody that wants to wander over here on a Saturday night, probably, or a Friday night after the show or something, we'll get a fire going in the fireplace upstairs or out in the fire pit, and we'll do something. Did you get the Guinness from the pantry at the old house? Why, yes, I did, Brianna. The Guinness is here. Also, the Michelob Light Golden, some kind of swill in a gold can. That came along with us. I've got the Fat Tires are here. I think we have some Newcastle Brown Ale as well. So there you go. Yes, we did. The Guinness is here. As a matter of fact, it's not far from here. I thought it was just sitting right there. It's somewhere. It's somewhere over here. So, and I want to tell you about the little, you never know with this stuff. John and Bree were both here. We were telling them this little story. Over on that side of the room, we've got boxes of books all along this wall. We've got all of Rainey's boxes over on the very far wall over there. And coming in from the sliding glass door, we've got some shelving that's set up, dresser, shelving, stuff that's just set in a row until we get things organized down here and everything goes to its right place. So there's kind of a little aisle going through there. And we were looking for some important paperwork that Rainey needed this morning. And she said it was on my desk in that little metal thing that I put all my important papers in. I said, yes, I packed it. I packed that, and everything on your desk went into one tall, square cardboard box. And I marked everything with a big, fat marker that said books. Like if you look over here again. Let's see if I can even turn you that way. I can't turn you that far. I'm going to knock something over if I do. But you know what I mean. Boxes marked books in big red block letters, or Rainey's desk. So I took that box and I marked it Rainey's desk. And so we're looking all over for that box. We're looking through every one of those. Now, we're not rubes. We didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. We know how to look for things. We know what we did and how to look things. And so we're looking at that box for that box, and we're taking all the boxes and looking. And when John and Bree and I and Rainey, when we brought all this stuff in here, we would stack all the boxes so the names were out of what the contents were. If we didn't see a name this morning, we just turn the box around. See, is it on one of the other three sides? And see what's in that box. And so we did the same thing over there. We're looking for that box, looking. Couldn't find it for anything. Pulled everything apart. Turned every box around looking for Rainey's desk, is what it says on the box. And couldn't find it. So we put the boxes back. We thought, let's go look in the garage. We looked in the garage, and we looked through all the boxes upstairs. Did we happen to bring it upstairs? Couldn't find it. And I'm starting to doubt myself. I'm saying, did I actually write Rainey's desk on this box? Because we just cannot find it. And so we're down here, and we're digging back in there again. Nothing. So I say, okay, I gotta go take care of some stuff. So I walked over here to my desk, and I sat down. It's a couple of minutes later, Rainey sticks her head up over there, and she goes, come here. And I said, what? And she said, come here, look at this. And I thought, oh, she found the box, and it was going to be right in front of us. She said, did you put that box there? And going down this aisle, this kind of makeshift aisle with boxes on the wall and a bookshelf and a dresser over here on the other side of the sofa here. It kind of made an aisle that you came in and, not big, tall aisle, just an aisle of things and nothing in the middle. And she goes, look at that box. And there was a box in this aisle, this one box sitting kind of at a diagonal, right in the middle of the aisle. And so I walked over there to where Rainey was over by the door. She says, look at that. Did you put that box there? And I turned back, and there's this box. It's the tall, square box, tall. And it, big, bold, red block type, my writing, Rainey's desk. All the contents of Rainey's desk. She opens it up. All her papers are right in the top. And she said, there you go. And now, is it possible that one of us put that box there? The skeptic would say, yeah. I might even say, yeah. Somebody told me, you obviously pulled that off the top of the boxes and set it down there. Or the bottom of the boxes, set them down there. And just forgot to put it. The thing is, we meticulously went through every box, and the box that said Rainey's desk was not over there. And then she turns around, and a box that hadn't been there, all of a sudden there's a box in the middle of the aisle, and it's the box she's looking for. What do you make of that? Does it make any hair stand up on the back of your neck? So, hey, Iowa Joe, good to see you. David Castle, good to see you tonight as well. Thanks for coming in. And so there's a weird little story. Now, one of us misplaced it. But you know what? Like I said, we're not rubes. We're not idiots. We've been down this path before. You generally know if I picked that box up and I didn't see a marking on it. I must not have looked all four sides. And then I left it sitting in the middle of the aisle. You generally know when you do that stuff. Must have missed it with my old eyes, says John the youngster. Hey, have your testicles dropped yet, John? I'm just curious. When's your voice going to change? Are you going to get any taller than a hobbit? I'm just curious. Friendly question. I'm just wondering what your family genetics are like and all of that, So there you go. So there's a fun little story for you tonight. But since we're talking about spirits and things like that, hinting at it, we can get into this a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Jesus, Potter, Harry, Christ. What, again, is that all about? Remember, this is about trying to see a Christ type in literature. And there's many of them. There's many heroic stories out there that either are the basis for a Christ type story, or they're following deliberately a Christ type. And so that's what this series has been all about. Hey, Brianna, let's see. I paid the monthly thing. I don't have a symbol next to my name like Michelle's. I don't know what to tell you. When did you do that? If you just did it now, it might not happen until it's processed and you come back in. If you did it the other day, I don't have anything to do with that, by the way, folks. When you join, you get that little symbol by your name. And that little symbol says that you're a member. It's that circle. Looks like there's a sideways kind of mechanical S in there. And that shows the different colors, show different levels that you're in at. So there you go. If you did that, Brianna, it might take time to show. You did that on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I don't know when that'll show up. So it might take a day or two. I have no idea. If I knew, I'd tell you. So it'll show up, though. They always do. So this is the only symbol I need. A star. Oh, there it is. You're a star. Oh, I see. Wait. Field guy. That was field guy. That's a fleur de lis. Oh, field guy. Do I have something to show you? Did I bring it down here? Is it down here? Or I left it upstairs. I got a huge metallic. It's tin. So it's a little flimsy, but solid. And it's made to look old and rusty, or it is old and rusty, of a fleur de lis. It's a big wall hanging. The thing's about 3 feet tall. I'll probably display it on the wall, and you'll get to see it. So, anyway, Jesus, Potter, Harry, Christ. It's all about looking. It was a book that was written all about looking into the comparisons between Jesus and Harry Potter. Because, and we went through at the beginning of this, how at the beginning Harry Potter was looked at by the Christian world as being demonic, satanic, the gateway drug into occultism and Satan worship. Hail Satan, follow me! But as we found out, that's not what the stories were all about at all. They were stories about friendship, about courage, about loyalty and honor and love. And so after about the 4th book, the series took a great turn toward a darker side. We saw that reflected in the movies and the books if you read them. And that darker side really started to show a Christ type of figure. Not necessarily deliberate, but what people will do all through history since the time of Christ, they'll look at literature and they'll say, this is based on that heroic motif, that Christ type motif. So it makes this character a Christ-like figure. And the reason this guy wrote this book was to show the comparisons between history's 2 greatest fictional characters, or I'm sorry, literary characters. So then he had to go back and try to establish, well, what makes that work? Why do people think that's so? Well, it's because, John Hagee was preaching against it, Matthew. John Hagee would preach against his big toe. If he thought, the devil comes out of your big toe. I swear, if that's an ingrown toenail, yeah, that ingrown toenail removed, and Satan will peek his face out through the pus. John Hagee. Yeah, John Hagee, in my book, he's an educated man, but he's educated in one way. And he's an educated man, but he's an idiot at the same time. You can have those. How do those things melt together? I don't know, but they do. That's my opinion. Now, if he wants to call me an idiot, he's welcome to. I'm nobody. Nobody knows me like they know who John Hagee is. So that's it. That's what happened to my toes, Brianna. When I had those toenails removed, Satan poked his head out and went, follow me. And so, anyway, I'm not mocking Satan for those of you that are firm believers in that evil. I'm not even saying he doesn't exist. But I have my questions about things, and that's why we look at stuff like this. So what this book did is it starts to take you through all the pros and cons of Jesus as an historical character. Then they're going to get into the Harry Potter factor as well. And so we're looking tonight at where's the proof? What's this? And we started here last Thursday, believe it or not. There's an overview of the evidence and the arguments for the existence of Jesus. And we talked about this, and we started this off last Wednesday, then last Thursday as well. Didn't get very far through it. And we started looking at the archaeological evidence that confirms that the many biblical accounts. I could regale you with many stories of biblical archaeology that confirm biblical stories. Do you know that as of the time of Albright, who was writing back in the 1920s, said up to that point there'd been over 1,500 biblical stories confirmed by archaeological finds. And these are things as simple as a coin with somebody's face or name on it. And or a wall where somebody said the wall was, or there was a field overlooking a small town on the outskirts of Israel that in the biblical story before the time of Christ, I think it was the Philistines had stolen the Ark of the Covenant. And of course they put it in their temple, and they get up every morning, and the god Dagon was down on his face. The statue was down on his face before the Ark of the Covenant, like a ghostly moving of a box. And they're like, what the hell? And then they all started breaking out with bloody boils and shit. And so they said, get that thing right out of here. Take that thing out of your mouth. I'm thinking of what's the line from Monsters, Inc.? Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Boom, boom. So they said, put that thing back where we got it. They put it on an ox cart. They had a couple of guys leading it from a distance. And then when they got in sight of the city, they just turned around on their horses and they ran. And they let that ox cart go toward the city on the outskirts of Israel. And it stopped. Here's the point I'm making. It stopped at a big standing stone. Think of one of the stones from Stonehenge, standing out along the side of the path, the dirt road that led across this big field, leading to this little city on a hill fort. And so the men went out and they got the priests and they gathered up the ark and so on, took it back to Jerusalem. But do you know that to this day, if you go to the ruins of that city, not Jerusalem, the smaller town, it's like a hill fort town, on the outskirts of Israel. It was like the borders of Israel. And you stand on that hilltop and you look out where the old ancient road used to be out in these fields. There's still a standing stone there that's been there. Apparently you can date these things, how long it's been standing there and so on. It's standing there forever. Is that the stone mentioned in the scriptural story? So it's things like this have been found, and archaeological finds, archaeological sites, which is very cool when you start thinking about it. And who was writing about the blood moons? He made a film on it and showed when Columbus sailed in 1493, there was a blood moon. I'm not sure who you're talking about. I have to go back in, Matthew. That sounds pretty interesting. Parish church in Barbados, the caskets, that's ghostly. And so there you go. Well, I want to see if anybody's got anything else significant I should bring up. They make gold emerods and put in the ark. What's an emerald? Anybody know? Emerods were hemorrhoids. Emerods were hemorrhoids from hell. Nice. Oh, that's what the Philistines did, right? When they sent it back. Here, we're getting hemorrhoids, we're getting other things. We're going to make some of these out of gold and put them in the ark. And I wonder if the guys who put them in died. John Hagee made it the 4 blood moons. Okay. I'm not much interested in John Hagee, to tell you the truth. Matthew, you can talk about him all you want and relay some of his information. You know, there are certain people you listen to, or certain people you've encountered, or things that you've done and heard where you go, that guy, when he talks, I'm not even interested. I don't even care what he says. I don't care what he says, pro or con. I'm just, he's dead to me. Dead. His family's dead to me. No, I don't mean that. If anybody's monitoring, I'm not threatening anybody. It's just doing a very poor Al Capone impression from the movie Untouchables. You're dead to me. You're dead. Your family's dead. Everyone who knows your family is dead. So, I don't care. I don't care about John Hagee. Talk about him. I don't mean don't talk about what you want to talk about and share there, Matthew. But he's one of those guys that just don't care. I don't care. Obama talks. I don't give a flying rat's ass what Obama has to say. You know, it doesn't make any difference to me. Biden talks. Same thing. I really don't care, except as it pertains to what's going on in my country. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. Like when he fell asleep on the Israeli prime minister last week. They're in the two chairs in the Oval Office and doing a press conference, and old Biden falls asleep. You know who? We'll talk about this more later, some other time. But USA Today tried to defend him. Oh, he was just looking down. And when he looked at his watch, he wasn't really looking at his watch. And then they had to admit, yeah, he was looking at his watch because all the Gold Star families said that. But did you see Trump ever get defended by the press the way Biden is defended by the press? It's a thought. Put that in your mind. We're moving off of politics now. I promise. Don't go away if you don't like politics. So we looked at the archaeological evidence that confirms a lot of biblical accounts. And there's archaeological evidence that seems to support a lot of the things that happened around the life of Jesus and the story of Jesus. There's archaeological evidence that Caiaphas, the high priest of the temple in Jerusalem, that he really existed. Gamaliel existed, part of the Sanhedrin. You've got Pontius Pilate existed. We know these characters all existed. And there are other characters in and throughout that we know existed. You find the ossuary of James, the brother of Jesus. Is that archaeological evidence or is it fake? Dates back 2,000 years. So the Talpiot tomb, which is supposed to be the Jesus family tomb. All the names. If you ever watch, there's a thing that Shimka Yakubovici, who was the naked archaeologist, was his show. Great Israeli archaeologist, had a great TV show. Look up The Naked Archaeologist. Some of those shows are 20 years old, but they're not dated because he goes into biblical archaeology. And he's a lot of fun to watch when he does this stuff. But he did this show on the Talpiot tomb, the suspected tomb of Jesus, the Jesus family. And they found that all the names that we know biblically that matched the family of Jesus were all in this tomb. And he started doing statistics. And so it was very interesting. I don't remember the statistics, but it was by the time they got down to all the names and verifying and everything that this was the family of Jesus, by the time you got to the last name, you were like, there was 1 in like 16 million chance that it was wrong. So, just from a statistical point of view. Anyway, all that to say, and I spent a lot more time than I wanted to on that. There's historical events. There's archaeological events that seem to back up events around the time of Christ. You also have historians that have written from the time of Jesus and after the time of Jesus about Jesus. And you've got to wonder, why would we question them if we don't question their other histories? So, and we mentioned this the other day. We were talking, there's a popular defense of the historical Jesus. It concludes this. Here's the bottom line. If Luke, the apostle Luke, or the apostle Luke, not the apostle, the Luke, who wrote one of the Gospels, Luke, who wrote the book of Acts in the New Testament. If Luke was so painstakingly accurate in his historical reporting, on what logical basis may we assume he was credulous or inaccurate in his reporting of matters that were far more important, not only to him, but to others as well? That's a question that gets asked. So the defenses sometimes of the historical Jesus are, well, why would this have happened? Why would these people have acted this way if it didn't really happen? So, and Luke kind of screws up his dating by tactlessly mentioning events that historians are capable of independently checking. There wasn't, we mentioned this the other day. Why did Joseph and Mary go to Bethlehem? Why did it seem like they had no place? Why did they have no place to stay when they got there? And by the way, if I may make a slight political reference, you know, guys like the Reverend Jesse Jackson and others that will constantly talk about Joseph and Mary being homeless. And so when you're homeless at Christmas, this is when we must give money and reach out. They weren't homeless. They just didn't have a hotel room. And they couldn't find a vacant hotel room. There was no kayak. There was no Amazon, wherever you go and put in for your orbits.com and find hotel rooms. That didn't exist. You went to that town, or if you had to go, you could send a letter ahead of time and say, I'm coming. Or you just go to that town and you find out whether or not you got a room. And of course, the town was so crowded with people coming for the census. That's why they were supposedly going. According to Luke, there was a census that Augustus Caesar put out and said, go to the place of your birth. There's going to be a census of everybody in the known Roman world. And so you have to go there. And so everybody was rushing back to their hometowns and stuff like that. But there's a problem with that. There's a big problem with that. There was indeed a census, but it was not under the time of Augustus Caesar. It was under Governor Quirinius. It was a local census. I mean, it was during the time of Augustus, but it was not one that was decreed by Augustus Caesar. It was decreed by Governor Quirinius, and it wasn't by Caesar for the empire as a whole, but it happened too late. It was in 6 A.D., which would have been about 12 to 13 years after the time we think Jesus was born. Because remember Herod the Great, the puppet figure king of Israel, during the birth of Christ scenario, the wise men came to visit him, and then he wanted to murder all the babies and all of this. Well, he died we know this is a historical fact, he died in 4 BC. So Jesus would have had to have been at least 0 to 2 years old by 4 BC. And for this to have happened when he was a small child. And so the census didn't take place for another 12 to 13 years. So this is a problem. So Luke's story is historically impossible and internally incoherent. But but this writer sympathizes with Luke's plight and his desire to fulfill the prophecy of the minor prophet Micah from the Old Testament. He needed to fulfill a prophecy. How about the martyrs? That's another point. The martyrs would not have been willing to die for a lie. If there was no Jesus Christ, what did all those martyrs die for? My simple answer to that is sometimes people die for stuff that they're wrong about. I still like, and we covered this whole point last week, so I won't go through it again, but I love the words of Richard Feynman, who said he was the astrophysicist who was a contemporary of Einstein and Oppenheimer, and he said, I'd rather be wrong. No. How did he start this? He said, I would rather die, and I'd have been wrong. I'd rather believe the wrong things or not believe anything at all than when I came to die, realize that I'd believed the wrong thing all along. And that's kind of the way I see this with the martyrs. Sometimes you can believe something, you believe something with all your heart. You can believe something and give your life for that cause and find out later that maybe I was wrong about that. It's wrong to put my faith in that. So, up to the time of Christ, there wasn't any proof to offer heretics who denied the physicality of Jesus. How could the mere fact of his willingness to die for his beliefs be used as evidence nearly 2,000 years later? A third point is that Christianity could not have started without a founder. And we talked about this one. I think this is the one we left off on. Some people claim that Jesus existed because there's a church that proves that he existed. He founded it. When in actuality, it was Peter who founded the church. And people mix up that verse. The Catholic Church mixes that up. Remember where Jesus said, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. That wasn't what he was saying at all. He wasn't calling Peter the rock. He was calling himself the rock. Peter, Petros, means rock. It means small stone. And so Peter was known as the stone, or rock. You could even call him Rocky. Would be his nickname, believe it or not. And Jesus said, Rocky, on this rock I build my church. So it's interesting. So if there was no other evidence for the real existence of the founder of Christianity, a strong case might still be made based on the difficulty a man might feel in accounting for the rise of Christianity without the impulse of an historic Jesus behind it. There's the argument. So an offshoot of this argument is sometimes that, unlike Christianity, all the various pagan religions died out, and Christianity survived despite every challenging period of persecution. Either it was God's will, people would say, and God's protecting the faith, or Christianity had something no one else did, an historical founder. There's a German scholar of Greek mythology, Walter Burkert, raised the argument against the ancient mysteries argument. He said the basic difference between ancient mysteries, on the one hand, and religious communities, sects, and churches of the Judeo-Christian type, on the other, is borne out by the verdict of history. With the empirical decrees of 391 and 392 AD that prohibited all pagan cults, and with the forceful destruction of the sanctuaries and the mysteries, simply and suddenly disappeared. All those pagan religions, those Gnostic believers, by the end of the 2nd century, were gone. But you have to notice that the contradiction that's implicit in the quote. The mysteries were first outlawed, and then their sanctuaries were forcibly destroyed. After which Burkert makes it sound like the disappearance of the mysteries was mysterious and unexplainable. But not irrelevant to the survival of Christianity is the fact that the early Christian church had both fixed authority and an organizational structure, not to mention a great deal of wealth, and that all traces of paganism were either destroyed, eradicated, or assimilated by the church. This, more than a physical founder, can account for its preservation. You had people wiping out other people in the name of love, in the name of Jesus, in order to have the right story told. Another point is that the life of Jesus was prophesied in the Old Testament. The life of Jesus was prophesied in the Old Testament. Now, this is the argument used within the Bible itself to justify Jesus Christ. And it continues to be used even to today. I did when I was in seminary. I did when I was in ministry. We know all of this. As written, the New Testament makes Jesus fulfill hundreds of Old Testament prophecies. Did you know that? Most of the prophecies are written in past tense about specific events, and they don't give any indication that they were to be used for the future. However, in order for Orthodox Jews to accept Jesus as Messiah, the kinsman redeemer, he needed to appear as Jewish as possible. Therefore, Jesus was made to do a lot of strange and inconvenient things, many of which were done in private or in secret, so that the gospel writers could say, and Jesus did this to fulfill the prophecy. But that's where the apologetic came in. Remember we were talking about King David almost 2 years ago, and say, you know it's an apologetic when you can see private situations and private conversations being written about that nobody should have been able to know about, unless somebody later shared the details. So, although take the massacre of the innocents, of the infants, the innocents, same thing, or the persecution of the child hero is a common literary motif. The writer of Matthew links it to a passage from Jeremiah, which reads, "A voice is heard in Ramah, mourning and great weeping. Rachel," who is the wife of Abraham, so the mother of Israel, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because her children are no more. That's Jeremiah 31:15. Now, when Herod the Great, King Herod, realized that the Magi, this is from, by the way, this is Matthew 2:16 through 18, out of one of the Gospels. When Herod the king realized that the Magi had outwitted him, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. Then what was said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because they were no more. So, very few biblical scholars consider any of the birth narratives of Jesus to be historically genuine. So similar are they to pagan mythology. So that they're so similar to pagan mythology, the scholars don't want to accept them as being actual or factual. And so if this whole episode with the killing of the babies didn't happen, it makes it all more easy to see how the writer could take a common theme and apply it to the character of Jesus Christ as a biographical episode, and link it to the Jewish tradition via prophecy. And the prophecy argument is also used by Jesus himself in the Gospels. However, being Jewish, it would have been natural for him to use phrases and quotes from the Old Testament in reference to his own life. Jesus, it says this, and Jesus quoted this, Zechariah 13:7. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who is close to me, declares the Lord Almighty. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the little ones. Then Jesus told them, this very night you will all fall away on account of me. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. That's Matthew 26:31. When Jesus is at the Last Supper with his disciples, and he goes up to Gethsemane to pray. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be gathered. So, many of the major biographical details of Jesus in the Gospels also arise out of prophecy. He had to be born in Bethlehem, for example, but he also had to be from Nazareth and then move to Egypt. And so this is how the story is written. He was born in Bethlehem, grew up in Nazareth, had to flee to Egypt from King Herod. Moreover, as we saw, the fact that these are real historical cities lends credence to the idea that these events really happened. As a matter of fact, when I was in Egypt, when I was in Cairo, I attended, we didn't attend church, but John Ward and I, we went into a church in Old Cairo, quarter of the city, the Old Cairo. And there's a church standing there that is supposed to be almost 1,800 years old. We're talking about a church that dates back to within 200 years of the time of Jesus. And the church was built out of the house and is now the site of the house where Joseph and Mary fled with the baby Jesus from the wrath of Herod the Great. And that's that house, that has been that tradition that has been with that church for 1,800 years. To me, that's amazing when you think about that. But so since the identical correlation between Jesus' life and the Old Testament prophecies is really unlikely to be coincidental, the fact that Jesus actually did these things is taken as proof that he was the coming Savior. However, it takes faith in the historical reliability of the Bible and the miraculous intervention of an all-seeing God into history before this proof can be convincing. So it's really self-referential. It's the self-referential equivalent to, I know the Bible is true because the Bible says so. Like that debate I was in with a paleontologist who was a Christian who insisted the earth was 7,000 years old. Well, how do you get that date? Well, the Bible says so. Well, I said, well, what if it's wrong? Well, God said over here in this other passage. I said, well, you can't prove the Bible by quoting another passage in Bible. Give me something from without looking in that tells me. Couldn't do it. He almost didn't understand that when I tried to do that. You're just denying the Bible. No, I'm just saying prove the Bible through exterior sources. You can't prove the faith from within the faith. Unless you're performing miracles or something. So, skeptics are going to argue that the gospel writers just wrote the story of Jesus to include as many of these prophecies as possible. And something that is also acknowledged by the biblical scholars is it's also important to recognize that if Jesus had been a historical Jew, he would have been familiar with all of the prophecies in the Old Testament, which were later interpreted to refer to him. And if he'd fulfilled them, he would have been doing so deliberately and conscientiously rather than incidentally or coincidentally, leaving him open to the criticism that he was a charlatan. So there's another point, and I'm going to go into this just a little bit tonight. Jesus was the founder of ethics. Now, this horribly uninformed idea, especially common in America and American country music, is that all goodness, love, and truth came into the world with Christ. And before him, people had limited ethical ability. Alan Jackson, famous country western star, he sings, "I'm just a singer of simple songs. I'm not a real political man. I watch CNN, but I'm not sure that I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran. But I know Jesus and I talk to God. And I remember this from when I was young. Faith, hope, and love are some good things he gave us, and the greatest of these is love." Where were you when the world stopped turning? So anyone familiar with the world literature knows that ethical considerations and practical morality, they've always been a concern for the human civilization. There are many pearls of ethical wisdom that can be found several thousand years before the time of Jesus, before the Christian era. Imagine that. We had morals and ethics before Christianity. And in the pagan milieu that gave birth to the Christian movement, the philosophical quest for concepts such as truth and love and goodness and virtue was seen as a pressing issue of ultimate importance. As a matter of fact, Pontius Pilate, remember the story when Jesus stood before him for his trial, day before his crucifixion. And he asked Jesus a question. One of the very few answers he got from Jesus was, he said something about, I am the truth. And Pilate gave him an answer back where he simply said, what is truth? And he wasn't looking for an answer. But you know what that was? Those were the key phrase. That was a key phrase word of a certain philosophical group that Pilate was probably part of. That's a hint at something that he personally believed. What is truth? That was the phrase of the group, of the spiritual group, if you will, philosophical group he was part of. What is truth? Maybe I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. That just popped into my head, so I thought I'd throw that out there. So the concept for truth, love, goodness, virtue, those existed before the time of Jesus. And many contemporary philosophical schools urged restraint and humility, abstinence, or charity during the time of Jesus. Jesus' teachings on ethics weren't anything new at the time. His famous moral precepts, love your neighbor as yourself, or in other words, he was saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which is not a biblical verse, by the way. Those are not unique to him, but can be found in much earlier religious traditions and religious literature. And Bertrand Russell raises in his article, why am I a Christian? Why am I not a Christian? He said, you'll remember that Jesus said, resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other cheek also. That is not a new precept or a new principle. It was used by Lao Tzu and Buddha some 500 to 600 years before the time of Christ. But it was not a principle which was a matter of fact Christian, not a principle, but is it not a Christian principle that Christians accept? Now that we have gone through a lot of these and we've dispelled some of the common perceptions or preconceptions, we can turn to the actual evidence. And this is what's going to be really interesting now. I have neither the expertise nor the aspiration to judge the complete reliability of some of this information I want to give you, of the testimonials and the documents which have been used as proof in the historical Jesus. But they're important to consider, if only as they continue to be heavily cited out there by the Christian church. They're scrutinized, they're bickered over. And in the next section I want to present here, I'm going to point out why they've been questioned by some scholars, why they're not considered universally reliable, and why therefore they can't be trusted to bear the light on our present studies of this. And so we're going to, starting tomorrow, we're going to look into the historical evidence behind Jesus. I think there's some real evidence to look at. And so we'll start looking at that deep and hard and heavy tomorrow. So there you go, folks. That's pretty much our show for tonight, at least the lesson part of it. I don't know what I said, Steve, but thank you. Steve said, amen, Scotty. Dang, now I just got teary-eyed. Don't know what I missed there, but thank you, though. Oh, and you know what? There's something that I want to mention. I just saw Brianna mention. I was going to do this at the beginning, and I forgot. As long as I still got you all here, I want to put a link into the chat room, guys. See this link? Wow, that's a long link. Hope that's the right one. Yeah, there it is. If you click on that link, that should, yes, it does. It takes you to John's site. And this is John's new business. I want you all to do this. If you've got a few extra bucks, go over to John's site. He's not begging you. I'm presenting this. He's going to start a new business. Bank doesn't want to give him money because it's too risky. He's not asking for $500,000. He's trying to raise, I think, $5,000 or $10,000 here to start his camper business. Go over there, dig a little deep, throw a little bucks in there. This could get John started. All he needs is enough to get his first camper done, buy all the materials he needs and stuff like that. If somebody wants to come along, I'm sure, and make John an offer of $100,000 or $200,000, I'm sure he wouldn't turn it down if the deal was right to start a bigger company with it. But John's just starting out doing this. And if I can build one of those trailers and sell it, I'll have enough to invest in 2 more and keep going, keep that ball rolling. So please go on over there. Oh, the song, right, Steve Clark? Okay, yeah, you're right. So go on over there. And here you go. There's that link again. Go click on that link. That's a long link there. I wish it was a shorter link. Maybe there is. But that's the one I took directly off of the site. Hey, Brianna, you're welcome. And so go on over there and help them out. This isn't like, they're not needy. They're not going, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's not like, please help us buy food for our starving children. That's not what this is about. It's a different kind of, it's a different kind of ask. It's crowdfunding. It's saying, if you guys help me out, there might be some small perks for certain levels of donations, but I could use help getting my business off the ground. And who knows, you might, by throwing in 10, 20, 50 bucks, $100 if you got it, you might be starting something that's going to be a very big thing for John and Brianna. So I ask you to, from the bottom of your heart, dig deep and help my friends out. They're worth it, very much so. And you know what? That's all I got for tonight. Folks, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for giving me your time. You don't know how much it means to me to have you all come in here and be part of this show. I appreciate you coming into the chat room, putting up with the days I've had to take off. Also putting up with the temporary digs as we're getting this all put together in the new place. And so thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for all you do for me. I appreciate it. And so until tomorrow night, you know what? Live long and prosper.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.